Hello, everyone, everywhere. This is Bob Thibodeau with the Kingdom Crossroads podcast, and you are listening to the Going North podcast with my good friend Don Brightman. Be sure to subscribe to his podcast so you will not miss any of the upcoming episodes, and be blessed in all that you do.
And today on the Going North podcast, we're bringing some fabulous humans from across the globe. Today's no different. Well, today is kind of different, to be honest. It's a DMV special, baby. Charm City bonus, my goodness, my man. This author right here, first time authorship and first of many to come. This author right here, he has joined the business of immortality, because this guy right here, not only is he now a published author, he's also a teacher on the powerful principle of love. And for over 30 years, he studied organized religion to find the elements that unite humanity and share the message with those who need it. And raised within the Christian church, this author right here has turned to teachings about love over the years to find strength, understanding, and hope. And to make it even better, this guy right here is a decorated officer, my friends, a decorated officer, because he's actually a veteran too. He was actually in the U.S. Air Force and has received multiple merits during his time in the military, including the Air Force Commendation Medal, the Air Force Achievement Medal, the Air Force Good Conduct Medal, and the Air Force Outstanding Unit Award. And to make the icing on the cake, he's a devoted husband and lives outside of Washington, D.C., and he has a desire to share what he has learned over the years with others and is an agent of love for humanity. So let's give it up for Mr. JL himself, the Don Juan himself, Mr. Juan Lee. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing fine. I appreciate it, Don. I really do. I really do appreciate it. Just to clarify a little something, though, I was in the Air Force. I was an airman. I wasn't an officer. I was an airman in the Air Force. I was an enlistee. So just wanted to clarify that just as we get started. But yeah, I'm doing great. I appreciate you for having me on.
Woohoo! Great to have you on. We call that civilian ignorance on my part. I'll just take that L for this one.
That's okay. It was one thing. It was a thing where we was in the Air Force. I said, in the Air Force, basically, to be a pilot in the Air Force, you had to be an officer. And for the most part, those were the ones who actually went into harm's way, quote unquote, for the most part, were the officers who flew the jets. You see the really high flying jets and stuff. Those are the ones that took the greater risk, was the officers. But we would always be back waiting for them if they come back. It was not if you go out there, it ain't no guarantee you're coming back, but we'll be here if you make it back. So it was all right. I wasn't hurting when I was not an officer.
Hey, that's awesome. That's awesome. Self-preservation is a must indeed.
Hey, you do your part, I do my part.
Ah, yes, indeed. That's right. That's how peanut butter jelly came to be, right?
Great sandwich. Great sandwich.
Oh, man. Well, as with all introductions, I'm pretty sure there's stuff that I always miss. So mind filling in any cavities I missed about the wonderful Juan himself?
Well, no, actually, you covered it pretty well, other than the fact that in all of that was some challenges that I had. I had an undiagnosed learning disability that made life a little bit challenging. But I used a different type of attitude to basically make the outcomes in my life a little bit better. And I think those were the things that led me to eventually writing this book. Is being able to find out what those attitudes and share those attitudes with the readers. And so that's basically it as far as myself am concerned. It was, just had that thing that really made life interesting for me. Up until about 37 years old, it was undiagnosed disability, a learning disability. And that put some challenge, made things really challenging for me.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine, because you had a heck of a challenging life, losing your mom at a young age, too, on top of that.
Yeah. That's a part that even it's almost been 50 years now since my mom passed. And it's really interesting because it's, as a family, It was something that we really never talked about. And it's only been recently that we've been even engaging in dialogue concerning it. And it's interesting because everybody plays or has their own way of dealing with types of things like that. And as we as siblings begin to, interact with one another over that topic right now, we see that, each of us maybe dealt with it a little bit differently. So yeah, it was some challenging times, but we've made it to this point now.
Ah, there we go. That's right. Made it to the magical point indeed. And you're definitely right, because we all deal with it in different ways, and we all have our different levels of it. Heck, even the classic stages of grief that they talk about a lot, it's like, that's really more of those who are preparing for that moment, not the after effects that folks really don't talk about.
Yeah, I mean, isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth? And that's a lot to put your head around. My book, though, as a matter of fact, deals with those particular issues, though, and that was one of the things that I used for myself as a way of being able to understand that process over the years. And I touched on some of that in life, in my book, as it relates to understanding life and understanding death, from both sides of that thing. If you understand, for those that, for we pass away, and for those that remain, there's a process that we have to be able to go through and understand that, and it's can be challenging. But hopefully, people that get an opportunity to read "Love Made Simple," I address those topics in there, and hopefully gives give people ideas to how to handle life and death. And I've found it to be beneficial for myself, and hopefully it'll be help the readers also.
Ah, yes, indeed. And speaking of wrapping your head around something, you came across to the wonderful word of love. And heck, a lot of us get that word mixed up in certain ways. So how do you define love, my friend? How do you define love?
It's interesting. The very nature of love, everybody has their own way of looking at it. But my definition of love, it has to do with an attitude. Love is an attitude that you basically choose to sacrifice for the sake of humanity. See, it's the ability to care for something greater than yourself, and really makes everybody, we connect one to another through love. And it's that thing that in so many ways you don't have to speak it, but it's demonstrated. We share it, we show it in the things that we do. And so it's that thing that we have in common. And that's how I demonstrate, or I share the word of love made simple, because it seems to be something that's so abstract, but we use it when we're in times of peril or times of trouble. But it's the same thing that we use when we seeking peace, when we want that serenity, that place of solace that we can stand in no matter what the circumstances are. It's that same word. And so I share that and elaborate on the various ways that we can implement love through attitudes, the way we view things, the way we show ourselves up in situations, the way we show up in situations. So that's in a nutshell. It's broken down into 8 attitudes and some various values that we need, I believe, to live a successful life. That's basically what we're talking about when I think about love.
Ah, there we go. There we go. And in chapter 1, it mentions how unconditional love is a misnomer. So that's like the first time I've heard of that, man. So what led to that discovery?
Well, it's because of the simple fact that we hear about love, or I don't care what conversations that you're in, and it always comes up to the point where, hey, look, unconditional love, as to qualifying it, you know, as to you having to qualify the love, meaning that it's different than some other kind of love. And I know that there are various types of love, but the fact of it is it relates to just the simplicity of love, and that's based on for someone else, you know, caring and loving someone else. There is no conditions to it. You know, when we start to put conditions on it, we then begin to say what we're willing to and what we're not willing to do. And that's not love. Love has no boundaries. And that's the thing that we really don't realize, is that we lose the benefits from love when we begin to put boundaries on them. Because it's saying to that person or that situation, that circumstances, that there is nothing that's going to separate me from doing what I've decided to do. It's the commitment, the glue that sticks to us, that brings us together. And there's nothing that breaks it. And when you say conditions of unconditional love, it's basically saying, okay, then that means that there's some other kind of loves that are out there that are conditional. And that diminishes what love is. And so that's the misnomer that I'm talking about. And it's that attitude that you have to have, though. It's that attitude of knowing that there's nothing that can break this. We have marriages, we have relationships that we start. And, you know, on the wedding day, we say that it's till death do us part. And we know how that ends up. You know, it ends up at divorce court. And what happened? Love then broke it up until, you know, what happened? And so we really need to begin to look at the situations a little bit clear and understand, what am I saying when I use this word? And I understand that it has benefits to me, but it also has benefits to whomever I'm using it towards, that they can count on it. I mean, it's that disciplining tool, that commitment, and that's, again, we're getting into a little bit, but love is a sacrifice. It's a sacrifice. And if you're not willing to make the sacrifice to represent love, then maybe it's not the right word that we should be using in any circumstance, in any situation. So it's just really, you know, I say that this book is Love Made Simple. And I guess now is a really good time because to explain the fact that it's simple, but by no means am I saying that it's easy, because simple gives you the understanding as it relates to what to do. But now when it comes to having to execute what it is that love requires you to do, you've got to understand that that comes from within you and each and every one of us to be able to exercise that. And that's not always easy at all.
Yeah, you can say that again, especially when you mention how love is a sacrifice, and that's something that a lot of people think they may know, but when it comes to actually applying it to their lives, it's a whole different story.
Yeah, and that's why, and that was one of the real reasons why I made the book the way it is because I wanted to put some practical applications to what love looks like. You know, we say love, but what does love look like? And one of the things and that's these attitudes I'm talking about. You know, it's a sacrifice. It's being courageous. It's having humility. It's being caring, disciplined, being accountable, responsible, and having the tenacity to continue regardless as to what the circumstances are. See, that's what love looks like. You know, when you say it, oh, just wait until the challenges come. Let's see what happens.
Oh, yeah. You mentioned how sometimes you may need a new term for it, and I had to actually write something down. It's like circumstantial care. That might be what's really happening.
See what I'm saying? See what I'm saying? And that's okay. You know, okay, but let's be clear. You know, if that's circumstantial care. Hey, okay, that tells me exactly where we standing.
Yeah, exactly.
But when we talk about this love, there's some benefits in there, man. If we can actually get into it and lay the foundations down and do the things that are necessary, love never fails us. It never fails us. It's the attitude that will allow us to be successful in any situation. We hold that ability to be able to maintain and to be able to possess that type of success.
Ah, yeah, you can say that again. And that's really interesting too, because that's really one of the most powerful things on earth is love and really getting to that place of understanding. So I guess this all comes from like the painful background. So what really led to you discovering the word love as really being the one thing that I feel like that a lot of religions touch on that we really should focus on the most?
Well, see, the thing about religion is that religion is made up of three components. It's about an organization, it's about a location, and it's a message. And two parts of that three-pronged thing there has to do with man's involvement with the message. And unfortunately, the message has to wind its way through the church, the location, and the organization. And in so many times, it's confusing as to how you get to the love, the message, through all of the other stuff that we go into on Sunday morning when we go there. And so that was the thing that caused me to dig into and find out, why do people do what we do? Why do we spend Sunday mornings? And what I found out that was that everybody got their own reason for doing it. You know, everybody goes to the location and submits to the organization, and the message doesn't necessarily come too high, speak too highly on why we're there. Because, you know, you go there because it's entertaining. You go there because it's to socialize. You go there for, you know, because that's all what I've always done. And it doesn't seem like many people were going there to get the guidance and get the message of what it's all about. And you see it over time when challenges come and they're inconsistent with the message of the meaning of the love of what love is. And then it began to get even deeper than that, because then it went into, now this is a place where we're not only not here or here for the message, we're here to congregate and to separate ourselves from those who don't think like we do. And it was like, that could be on any corner, on any street, where you can find a church that has separated themselves from the church that's on the other corner, on the other street. And I realized, and I said, is that what the love is? And that's how I formulated and got to the point where I realized that love is universal. Love is not because you here in this location, or you under this denomination, this organization. Love is about the ability for us all to come together and to communicate that same unity, that we are human beings. This is humanity. We are here to encourage and to solidify and to support one another. We're not here to divide and to separate. I mean, those are the things that if we begin to look at it as a organization or as that local church, we spend so much time in that realm and not as much on the message of love. And so that was where this really stemmed from, and it came from. It's just, love is for everybody. It's for everybody. It's the thing that connects us all together. And when we begin to look to divide us, to separate us, we begin to do that to ourselves and as what humanity is. And we really begin to cut away at the very fibers as to who we all are. And that's where racism comes in, socialism. That's where all the isms come in too. Because if you don't fit in, you're excluded. And I think right now, in our society right now, this is what we need, because we've got some challenges happening in our country right now. And it's because we're divided. And love is to bring us together. Let's find out what we have in common, not what divides us and separates us. That's what makes us unique. That's what makes us more powerful, the things that we have separate. But the things that we really, when we can grow and glean from one another, and then that makes all of us better. But for right now, where we need to be is we need to find those things that we have in common, and let's rally around those. We're coming up on the time, the election is coming up. And if you want to see polarization, I mean, this is the epitome of division, separation, and it's one nation. And we're tearing this place apart for the sake of my way is the best way. And not seeing this thing as, hey, we're still United States of America, irrespective as to who might be elected as the president. We're the United States of America. And I think love is the tool that gets us to unity.
Yeah, great tool indeed. And it's so darn true about the organized religion, especially those who go to certain places on Sundays. Had a past guest, I believe, Reverend Jane Galloway. Yeah, she talked about how her time as pastor, not only being a lady herself, but dealing with every person that came in looking for different things, coming to the church for all sorts of things. And that one thing could be dividing the rest of the congregation away. So it's so powerful, man. This division is definitely it can be very evil, actually, because it divides people.
Well, I mean, and that's it. I mean, it's very simple in the sense that if we don't know that we're here to be united, it's very easy to run to my corner and just worry about my corner. But that's not what this is. Love is for everyone. It's to share what we all bring to the table and appreciate each other for what we have to offer. There's so many things that, like I mentioned in the book, is being able to understand that we all are important. We're necessary. We're not here by mistake. And for us to be able to think anything less than that, we miss. And love is the way that we get there. That's how we appreciate each other. That's how we value one another. We begin to show value to one another. It's because I'm looking out for your interests. You're looking out for my interests. And together, we're better together.
Yes, indeed. We are better together. So what do you think is the first step to get into that direction, especially during a little bit of tumultuous times like these with all the elections and all the other nonsense happening?
Well, understand that the real core of love is that it's a choice. You have to choose to want to love. You've got to want it. If you don't want it, in other words, you've got to want to sacrifice for someone else. You've got to want to do that. It has to be a desire. There's nothing that anybody can tell you or make you or force you to love. And so when we're talking about getting to having this unity, it's about deciding that that's what I want. That's what we want. We want to be unified. I want to be, we might hear in the scriptures, like, we are our brother's keeper. It's one thing to say that, but you got to want that. You got to want to be there for your brother. Nobody can make you. You'll make decisions. You'll have the attitude to want to do that. And so everybody who wants to understand love and be guided by love, it's first a choice. It's a desire to want to be led by love. To let that be our motivation is to love one another.
Ah, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. It's so true. Love is definitely a choice, especially since sacrifice is also involved too. So, what do you think is probably a good, I guess, what's probably the mindset one should have when deciding whether or not to make that choice to really tap into the power of love? Because since it's a choice, you have to have the mind to think about it. So, and any thoughts on that, on possibly how to make the right choice about who or what to put your love towards?
Well, the attitude has a reciprocal effect. Okay. First of all, we need each other to be successful. To be, there is no one that is successful in this experience called life by themselves. Okay. There's nobody. We need each other to be able to facilitate to bring out our best in us. It's sort of like this experience that we're going through right now. You know, you've provided me with a platform to share what I am and who I am and what the book is about. And I'm providing this to you because this is your platform. This is where you provide your best. This is who you are. And so together we give and take what it is that we each other need for this situation, for our growth and development, for us being the best that we can be. And so it's in every area of our lives is like that. So when it comes down to what we needed and how we need it, if we want to be our best, it behooves us to love one another. Because I'll be honest with you, a month ago, 2 months ago, I had no idea I was going to be sitting here talking with you. No idea. So and love motivated me to write a book that presented this situation to occur. And I didn't know I needed you to help me to share this message. I didn't know your name. But the fact of the matter is that until I began to love, I would have never come into contact with you. And that's the benefit of it. Love is endless. It will open up doors that you would have never understood or recognized that were there. So it's having that knowledge and understanding that love facilitates opportunities that you would have not otherwise been able to see or hear. It is amazing. When I say love never fails, it never fails when you begin to look through the lens of love at life in of itself and the opportunities that it will present to you. They're endless.
Ah, yeah. That's right. The power of love, it's infinite, baby. That's right. It's infinite indeed. And I love the fact that you, oh, well, pun unintended with that one, but I love the fact that you mentioned how love facilitates opportunities. So what's, off the top of your head, what are some of the opportunities that have been basically facilitated towards you since you tapped into that power?
Well, again, just being here. But this has been a journey of mine for some time. And the ultimate goal or benefit to anyone who exercises and operates in this is the ability to have peace. The book is called Love Made Simple, a guide to inner peace, contentment, and success. And so those are the overwhelming benefits that you gain by exercising in love. So peace is something that's internal and that it cannot be taken from you. Nobody can take peace from you, and it doesn't have anything to do with your external situation. No matter where you are, where you've come from, but the ability to be able to exercise and maintain peace is something that we all desire, but unfortunately, it comes in a time in most of our lives. It's as a result of some type of trauma, some type of event, and you're looking for peace to be around us. And what this peace is that love brings us, it doesn't matter what the circumstances are around us. See, we're in the middle of a pandemic, and it's a very uncertain time. But to be able to have peace in the midst of what's going on, that's what this love does. And, there's a lot of things that go along with that. Love brings preparation for times such as these. Love brings people in your lives that can support you and that can reinforce you, encourage you, chastise you if necessary, to make things better. This is what love does. And see, people don't really understand it's the attitude that love presents us, that gives us that results that we're looking for. And so, it's an amazing tool that if we understand it, we can apply it in any and every situation in our lives, and it will yield the results that we're looking for. And when I say looking for it, we will be successful in that venture, be it through growth or development or whatever it might be. It's the attitude that ensures our success.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, ensuring that success. Well, as with all successes, it comes with hindsight being 2020. So if you were to wake up tomorrow and you were 25 again, but this time in 2020, with all of your amassed knowledge and experience that you've gained over these past few decades, what advice would you give to yourself?
Oh, one of the things that I put in the book, and that was that I wrote the book for the family, in the sense that it's like for teenagers, for young adults, it's for adults and seniors. And it's basically being able to give those takeaways for you at each stage in your life. So in each chapter, that's what I do. I break it down for each age group, in each chapter, so that whatever the issue that I'm talking about in the book, it's basically allow you to see yourself at whatever stage you are in your life and see what it is that you can put and implement into your life. And so as you ask that question, I go back to being, when I was a teenager, just having, clear understanding as to what life was all about, and that's something that I speak in the book is, very few of us go through life understanding life. We get the thing about purpose and how do you determine purpose? Purpose is what love is. Love is being able to love your fellow man, to be able to share your gifts, your talents with with humanity. One thing that I like to say is that humanity is the constant. From generation to generation, humanity is the constant. And so what do we leave humanity in this experience called life that we have? And it's only the thing we have is ourselves. We pour ourselves into humanity, and we are fulfilled in doing that. That's our fulfillment. is just pouring ourselves into humanity. And so to know how to do that, to be able to accept the fact that life is just an experience. It's just an experience. We passing through, it's temporary. To understand that, to appreciate it, and then just to take that a little further and to go to the point where death is the conclusion of a temporary experience that we have to embrace. To know that it's temporary, know that you have to have a conclusion. And when we don't have that understanding, it makes this experience a little bit confusing, because we're almost of the impression that we're trying to duck and dodge the conclusion. There is no ducking and dodging the conclusion when you know that it's only temporary. And so, that's one of the things that I would have been able to understand. And even at the age of 6, when my mom passed away, all I knew is that she wasn't coming back. She wasn't coming back. But to have valued that experience, those 6 years that I had with her, I speak a little bit about that in the book, because she made a difference in my life. She made a difference in the lives of people that was in my neighborhood. They named the recreation center after her. And it was amazing that a woman who lived less than 40 years, I lived longer than my mother did. And yet she has a monument, and she impacted this world in a way that I could only hope to. And so this is what the sooner we get this, the sooner we understand that we're here to make a difference, to sow into humanity. Man, everything takes on a whole new perspective. It takes the I out of this thing about me, me, me. It's about something greater than us.
Ah, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So powerful right there. Humanity is the constant. Humanity is the constant. And hopefully more folks will keep that in mind going forward as we live throughout our lives, because I feel like people have been forgetting that this year with this whole darn pandemic, with folks trying to make it political just because it's election year. Like, it's not political, it's about human life. And we need to remember that.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate how we're looking at things as it relates to how all of this stuff goes together. Politics, our experience in life. Everybody has their different perspective on what life is. And I think until we gain some common understanding of it, we're going to be all over the place, all over the place. People think that you make decisions, and I just want to put this out there. You make decisions based on your perspective and your attitude. And so when you then ask people that are in positions over you to make decisions for you, and they don't necessarily have your best interest in mind, you're in a bad position. And so we have to understand that we ultimately have to be able to make those decisions for ourselves. I mean, and this is just a prime example. The government is asking us to wear masks and to care about our fellow man. And things are not getting better. They're getting worse. And that's because a lot of people don't trust the government as having their best interest in mind, because everybody has their own perspective as to whether or not we should open back up or we shouldn't open back up. And now you're fighting over various things that really, what's the best for humanity? What's the best thing for humanity? Maybe it doesn't, you don't look at the bottom line. You look at humanity and you say, what's the best thing for humanity? And you make your decisions there. But if we don't know that humanity is our whole purpose for being here, it's a capitalist society, we're thinking that the bottom line is what our purpose is. And we miss out on this human element. And so it's a difficult thing if you're unaware of what this thing is all about, called life.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about indeed. So for those who want to better their lives and make that wonderful decision to pick up a copy or 5,000 of your book, Love is Made Simple, what's the best way for folks to reach out to the wonderful JL himself?
Hey, this is you can go to my website, which is the ideal place. You can go to my website, Juan Lee, theauthor.com. It's in Amazon, it's in Barnes and Noble. If you're interested in getting an autographed copy of it, go to my website and just send me an email, let me know. And what we're doing right now is, if anybody's interested, I'm doing some one-on-one coaching, as it relates to how to implement these attitudes in your lives, in your journey, and how these attitudes can assist you in your journey in life. I'm setting up this a free, send me an email, let me know that you've purchased the book and that you want some free time with me, and I have a Zoom meet up with you, and we'll discuss how these attitudes can assist you and being able to be your very best you through using Love Made Simple.
Well, there you have it, folks. Love Made Simple. Head to juanlee.com. Pick up that wonderful book. Pick up some copies. Sign up.
JuanLeeTheAuthor.com.
See, there we go. We call that civilian ignorance again. So, JuanLeeTheAuthor.com, baby. Head over to that site. Pick up some copies of the book. Heck, even get an autographed copy from the man himself and sign up for that coaching session indeed. Change your life forever. Probably more than quarters, nickels, and dimes, my friends. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So any parting words to the folks still listening?
Oh, I appreciate the opportunity to share Love Made Simple with you and your audience. I am hopeful that we will get a chance to meet with some of your audience and that we can touch bases with them. You can, like I said, come to my website. Also, by the way, I have a meetup group that if anyone is interested in that also, it's called Real Life Talk, Unity Through Love. We meet once or twice a month, but it's through the meetup group platform. If anybody's interested, just go on to the meetup.com and look for Real Life Talk, Unity Through Love. And we meet once a month on Zoom, and we just go over talk about life. And interesting enough, this month, it's going to be, I don't know, it's going to be later on this month. It's going to be talking about how can you use love to avoid debt. That's something that I think goes to the point where we all have to understand that love can answer every question, even debt. Keep you out of debt. Okay.
Hey there, you superstar. Thanks a bunch for making it this far in the podcast. Hope you really enjoyed it. Heck, if you made it this far, that means you really enjoyed it. Be sure to shoot the guest an email or head over to the social media pages and leave them a nice response that you heard them on the Going North podcast, so that way they can continue to be inspired to do great things.